Hi there, welcome back to my channel, Scrap and Coffee. We are continuing with our new project that I'm calling the Land Down Under folio. It's a chipboard covered folio. In the previous video, or the first video, we made our base cover and I really did a step-by-step video on that. So we didn't came very far in that video, but I just hope it's helpful for at least a few people, a little bit more detailed video on that. In this video we are going to continue, we're going to place some magnets, we're going to work on our frame and perhaps also on the inside. We'll just see how quick I go. I'm not the fastest when it comes to that. And I just wanted to show you once more, this is the collection that I will be using from Studio 73 called Land Down Under. This is an Australian brand. They have several collections out there, but I really wanted to do an Australian themed project, and this one was just so cute with all the animals in there. I bought it from J-Craft in Melbourne. It's a local scrapbook store here in Melbourne. I'm not sponsored in any way. I paid for it with my own money, but I just like to support small businesses in any way that I can. So by buying or by just naming them. So I put a link down below in the description box towards that scrapbook store if you're interested in this collection or any other Studio 73 collection or any other scrapbook material that you might be looking for. Just take a look there and you might find it. So that's what I'll be using. And let's continue. So I was thinking, let's start with placing some magnets. I made it a habit to stand up when I'm filming, but I think I'm going to sit down now for a little bit, because if you might hear, I'm still a little sick. I have quite a cold. I recovered from a tonsillitis and I got a cold when I was recovering. So it's been on and off with my health for the past 3 weeks, but we're just making the best of it. So I'm going to use magnets here. I had a little bit of trouble finding some magnets here in Australia, but eventually I found I have some really nice small ones that I'm using on another project. But I have here the 49M market magnets. I didn't know that they were selling their magnets like this, but I'm glad I found it. I was actually looking at other products from 49M market, but okay, I'm talking too much. So we have small ones that are 10 millimeters by 0.8 millimeters. These are like the small, same size as the small Basic Grey or Tonic Studios or whatever brand you may be used to. And I have large magnets here. So these are 15 millimeters by 0.8 millimeters. So I'm going to use these larger ones for my cover closure. And with these type of closures, I always struggle a little bit with where do I need to place my magnets, because I intend to do that here, like on the outside of this piece, because I want that to stick down. But what will happen is that this piece will want to fall down with the gravity. So I think it's better to place it a little bit more towards this end, or just a little off center towards the spine. So I'm thinking about maybe like 2 inches in or something on my front panel. I think that's what I'm going for. And then I also noticed that I just ended filming making this cover, and that's just something that I have more, is that sometimes I don't really get the perfect stick here on my edges, so I just go back in with a bone folder to reburnish that. So about 2 inches from my spine. I don't really have to measure it, right? But let's see, I already opened this up, but I wanted to show you the packaging. Okay, I'm ready. Let's see, where's my pencil? I'm gonna get 2 of these out. You know what, maybe I'm just going to place it just next to this cardstock that I have here, which maybe a little bit more that way. Okay, so I can just stick it on here right now, but actually what I like to do, especially with this cover, I think I want to do it, is make them sink into the chipboard a little bit. So I'm going to mark with my pencil where they are lying. Just like that. Oh, be careful that they don't break if they snap onto each other. I'm going to get a craft knife and let's see. I'm going to cut on that pencil mark. You don't have to go all the way through the chipboard. I just want to take away like 3 layers or something, because chipboard is basically just layers of paper, cardstock on top of each other, pressed together. So you can peel away layers, right? And that's also with chipboard embellishments. So we have to be a little bit careful while we're doing this. And I use some nail. I can also use my straight blade for it. So I just peeled away some layers. Get a magnet, see if it fits in there. It does, and it doesn't have to sink in completely. I just want to reduce that bulk a little bit. And then I'm going to get some tape. And stick that in place. I'll do a second layer later. Okay, so same thing for this one. Okay, this is cooperating a little. Not as well as the other one, but we will get there. Same thing, just make sure that it's fitting in there. Where's my tape? Right there. It can be far, right? Stick it on here. Now I will do another layer of tape on here, because with the strength of the magnets it will intend to come up. So I will get another magnet, drop it on there, just make it find its natural attraction basically. And this is a little bit of the difficult part with these sort of things. I'm always, you know, it never goes the way I want to in one go. Well, we'll see. I'm placing some tape under the magnet with the sticky side facing up. And I have the tape go from top to bottom. And now we want to make sure that our cover is standing straight, our spines are standing straight. And make that fall into each other. And right now I need to make that tape stick onto that front cover. So sometimes I like to go in with a bone folder or something, because you want to make sure that that magnet is in the right spot. Okay. So I burnish it a little bit. Now I can do the same thing here, where I make it go in the cover. I'm kind of in doubt if I just like how clean this cover is with this color, right? So I'm not sure how much I am going to cover up from this. So maybe I'm just going to leave it here, just where it is. I'm not going to cut into it. I reduce the bulk on one side. You can do it on both sides, but I think it's fine like this. So I'm going to leave it here. I'm just giving this a really good burnish. You can also make a little patch with Tyvek or with, if you have something like construction tape. Okay, so the magnets are in here. Next up, I want to work on the frame. So I have my piece of chipboard here saved. That's the same as the front panel that we got in the first video. But I also saved these pieces of scrap. Like from this one we got our spine pieces. But I might want to do something on the spine as well, something decorative. So I also have those still close by. So what we can do is we can keep this exactly the same measurement as it is. But what I was thinking is I'm going to cut it 1/4 inch down on 2 sides. So we can have the frame will be a little smaller than a front panel, and we're gonna have like a 1/8 inch border on the sides. I think I'm going to like that. So I'm going to cut this down 1/4 inch on 2 sides. So my trusted, beloved trimmer that I brought in my suitcase. So it, excuse me, it's I believe 5 5/8 of an inch now. So I'm gonna bring it back to 5 3/8 of an inch. And that's what I said, I believe I said it in the first video, that I was thinking of cutting this down. Maybe, let's see, both my edges straight. Yeah, so it doesn't matter. 5 3/8. But if you want to keep it exactly the same size as it is, that's also fine. That will work. So that will go in the garbage. And then this is now 6 3/8. So I'm going to make that 6 1/8. Going to keep it. Well, I'll probably do it with my straight blade now with the okay, so now I'm going to draw a frame on here, and I think I'm going to go for a 7/8 inch frame. I don't know why, that just feels right to me. That's how it works. Whatever feels good, that's what it's going to be. So 7/8 of an inch. And 7/8 of an inch on all 4 sides. And then this is what we get. So sometimes I draw it on and then I think, oh, it's too big or it's too small, and then I just adjust it. So then I change the measurement, but I think this is good. So I'm going to use this paper piercer. I heard somebody call it a pokey tool. I think I like that. A pokey tool. And I'm going to poke the intersection of my pencil lines. So you can do this in your paper trimmer. We're going to cut on the lines from intersection to intersection. Like I said, you can do that in your paper trimmer. I'm going to do it with my straight blade and a ruler. So I put the point of my straight blade in that chipboard. Line it up to my best ability, and I just go over several times along my ruler, and I will do that on all 4 sides, and then I finish it off without my ruler. Okay, so I did all 4 sides, and yes, it takes a little bit more time to do it this way. Your paper trimmer will be quicker. For some reason, I'm just not able to line it up the way I want it in my paper trimmer. And this gives me a better result. So, well, yeah, it takes me a little bit longer, but I'm happier with the result in the end. So, then I like to flip it over, and maybe there are some spots where I just didn't go all the way through. And then carefully I try to guide myself through the cut that's basically already there. And sometimes you need to have some more work on a corner. There we go, it's out. So yeah, you can use this for something, do with it whatever you like, throw it away, yes or no. And we have our frame. So now, let's see, this was 5 3/8. We need some space to wrap it over. So if I add, let's say 1 1/4, then we have 6 5/8 by 7 3/8. So I need a piece of cardstock. Well, let's make that 6 3/4 by 7 1/2. Okay, 6, 7, let's say something like this, 7.5 by 6 3/4. See, there's a reason that I edited out my paper cutting, because it's annoying. Okay, let's give that a try fit. Yes, so we want to have nice border. So I aimed for about 5/8 inch border on the outside to wrap over. And then we can stick this on our cardstock. So you can use your double-sided tape for this. Or what I'm using here is that purple glue stick again that I only use for these purposes. And I started doing that very recently. I've always used my double-sided tape for it. But this is on camera a little quicker. And normally I would prepare my pieces, right? It's already covered with double-sided tape. Well, not frames like this because you need to do the cutting, but... Okay, so I'm aiming to place that centered on here. If you're not completely straight, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. Try to give it a little bit of a burnish. Okay, and now we need to cut out that center part a little bit. So again, I just like to give myself a little bit of a guide. And let's go again for 5/8 of an inch. So I'm measuring 5/8 of an inch from the edge of my chipboard onto the cardstock from both sides. Then I use the grid of my ruler for that. So 2, 4, 5, and then 2, 4, 5/8 of an inch. And I will do the same thing right here. So 5/8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can also make a pencil mark, of course, that works. And if it's not precise, again, that's not the end of the world. So I just poked some holes, and then I'm going to get my straight blade again, put that point of my straight blade in the hole, and I'm trying to go to the other hole that I've made. And sometimes I'm off a little bit. We'll see what we get. Sometimes I just eyeball it. Just try to pull my arm from hole to hole, but for some reason I don't feel confident enough at the moment to do it. I think I'm going to be really off. Okay, so I think this corner is not... Oh, it's fine. Okay, so that's out. And now I'm going to get some 1/4 inch tape. I'm kind of thinking. Yeah, you don't have to really go from corner to corner. I'm just placing some... Where's my thingy? Here. Some tape here on that edge of that cardstock. And again, you can also do this with wet glue only, or whatever works for you. And then I will also place some, but again, you don't have to really go from corner to corner. Some double-sided tape along the edge of the chipboard here. Okay, so let's give that a burnish as well. Then I'm going to get my straight blade and I'm going to put it in the corner there and pull back to the corner of my cardstock to make 4 individual flaps there. And then I also want to have, is it this one? Yeah. Again, I'm also going to score along the chipboard edge. And I say again because I also did this on the cover, right? I'm just repeating. things that I did before. So you can pre-fold this a little bit, and I'm using my bone folder with that, and now that flat angled edge is really helping me to get under my cardstock and bring it up. And I'm just going to stick down all four sides. It doesn't really matter where you start, just go around. And I also like to again use some wet glue right there, just to fill it in a little bit, but you don't need a lot. That's why I say you can also do this with wet glue only. That's fine. And again, you will see me changing bone folders. That's just something that I prefer, but just use what you have, right? See, my double-sided tape now is sticking out here a little bit, which is not the end of the world. That's all fine, but you just don't need it so far out. I will be editing this a little bit because I'm not talking very much because I try to save my voice here and there a little bit. And like I said, I'm also still recovering from a tonsillitis, and if I talk a lot, that kind of triggers it. At least that's what I think, because it got way worse after making some videos last week. So try to tone down the talking here and there a little bit. Okay, so that inside is done. If we turn it over, then this is what we have now. So now we're going to do the outside, and basically we're doing the same thing as we did with our cover. So this time I'm just eyeballing it. I'm not going to be bothered too much about making pencil lines in where my tape needs to go. I'm just gonna put some 1/4 inch tape. On the chipboard I really go from corner to corner, and on my cardstock I go the width of my chipboard basically. You see what I'm trying to say here? And that's probably too much, but that's okay. Okay, so that's on. Once again, give it a burnish for a good stick. And again, before I forget, let's go around with this one for some scoring. Oh, yeah, I went all around. Okay, so again, I'm going to cut the corner off, but making sure that I have some space, that's a little bit much, between the chipboard and my cardstock, just like we did with the cover. But because this is something a little bit smaller, it's a little bit easier to eyeball that, so that's why I don't do the pencil lines. Oh, that one is a little close. Oh, we'll see how it goes. I was speaking too soon. So every now and then I need to take a little break to wipe my nose. Too much detail, yeah, probably. So let's remove some tape backing. We're just going to start on one side. Some wet glue, of course. And just a thin strip, not too much. So again, I do try to break down the fibers. With something like this, I try to give it just as much attention as I did with my cover, but because it's smaller, it folds over a little easier, a little quicker, and I intend to go a little quicker. Okay, but I will do the same thing as I do on my cover with doing the opposite side right now. And that's just something that I do because that's in my head. It will give me 4 exactly the same corners, like in how it folds over. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So they're probably not exactly the same because every corner looks a little bit different, but in the way how it folds over, it's the same. That's just a stupid detail, but that's what I do. Okay, so again we need to fold in those overlappings and make that flat. Sometimes when I have trouble with making it flat, I go with this bone folder because I have a little bit more strength to really push on it. Oh, I want to have the whole backing there. And once we did that, we can fold over again. So here I'm a little tight on my overlapping, so I hope that's gonna be okay. And on the other hand, you know, we're not gonna see this side, so I'm not too worried about it. I just don't want to be seeing that from the side. Don't want to be seeing any chipboard, but it looks like it's fine. I just managed to get that done. Yeah. Okay, last one. Okay. So that is folded over. Now let's go. This is the back, of course. This is the good side. And I'm going to place that on here. But I'm not sticking it down as of yet because I'm not completely set on what it is that I want to do in here. Do I want to have some patterned paper behind it, or do I want to have the pink behind it? I'm not sure yet. So I'm giving myself the opportunity to think about it. So I will be aiming for a 1/8 inch border on top, bottom and on the right hand side, which will give me a little bit more here, and that's because of the spacing that I have between my chipboard pieces, that it ends up to be a little longer, but that will help me when we open it up that I can lay it flat somewhat. But it will interfere, this frame will interfere with the album laying flat, so that's why I'm thinking about maybe doing a little chipboard edge on my spine as well, but I haven't set my, I'm not 100% set on that as of yet. So this is just prepared for now, and I will be doing some, just to have it ready, some tape here. And of course you can change this into a shaker, acetate window. You can go crazy with this. I, for this project, had not the intention of doing that. I have something else in mind, which I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but I hope it will work out the way I have it in my head. Okay, so what I want to show you is that I've placed my magnets here about 2 inches in, right? Now this is standing up a little bit, and I'm not quite sure yet if that is something that I really want to correct with another set of magnets, or if I'm just going to leave it. If it really bothers me, yes or no, I'm not sure yet. But at least for now this is staying in place. So this is prepared, and like I said, I'm not going to stick it down yet. I will decide on that a little later on, but at least we have it ready to go. I am going to go to the inside now, and what we can do is we've cleaned up our spines, and often what I do in my project is clean up this whole panel, basically, that I don't see any chipboard anymore, and I do that for several reasons. One of the reasons is the less important reason of my reasons. Does that make sense? But it just looks prettier. But it also, that's the more important reason, it helps me when I'm going to place my elements like my pockets and my flaps later on. It helps me with lining those things up straight. So let me show you in this one. Like here, I did that. I've got a piece, it's a little bit crooked because I have been changing things up, but I've added a piece of cardstock here as a base to work on, and that just looks finished to me. So I like to do that 9 out of 10 times, maybe 99 out of 100 times I will do it. Here I haven't done it, so you can still see the chipboard here showing. You will cover that up with your pattern paper, so that's why you don't necessarily have to do it. But for some reason this bothers me, and if I cut a piece of cardstock that I can fit on here and then have my pattern paper that's slightly smaller than that, then that just gives me a nice professional finished detailed look. So that's why I prefer to do it. So I would need to cut some pieces for it that are, I'm going to go for the same height as we used here, so that's 6 1/4, and then I measure my panel because it intends to be slightly larger than your actual chipboard piece, but the chipboard was 5 5/8 of an inch. So let's see. Yeah, I think if I go for 5 1/2, that would actually work. So I take off 1/8 of an inch from my chipboard measurement, basically. So for here, I'm going to cut one piece, 6 1/4 by 5 1/2. Again, I'm going to write it down for the cutting guide. And I need 2 of them that are 6 1/4, then probably by 8 1/4. I think that will work. Yeah. So 2. So let me cut that quickly. Okay, so I've cut those pieces, so this would be a good time to decide for yourself if you want to add an extra magnet here. I think I'm just gonna leave it. I'm fine with it. It's I don't really like to use a lot of magnets on my projects because I'm Dutch. That's what I always say. Yeah, I just don't really like to use a lot of magnets. You know, it's not like it's really sticking up or something. It's fine. But if you want to add an extra magnet, I would do one here, like a third set. So you need to do that before you're going to attach these pieces, right? So I am going to do some double-sided tape around the perimeter. I need to do this for all 3 pieces, which is going to be a little bit time consuming, but I will edit that a little bit. Okay, and then I do, depending on the size, I do like 2 or 3, or probably on the other one I need even a little bit more. Some extra strips in the middle. Of course, we're gonna give all of that a good burnish. So I only did this piece for now. So before I'm going to stick it down, I'm going to add an extra layer of tape here to the magnet. So where is my tape? Here. So in the other direction, just to secure it just that little bit more. Okay. Now I'm going to remove the tape backings here, and again, like I do often, I will combine it with some wet glue. I place it as a thin strip here around the perimeter so it doesn't stick before I want it, and fill in the spaces where I don't have any double-sided tape a little bit more. I'll remove this tape backing here. You can add a little bit of wet glue on here to prevent it, if you need to lift it up, so you can lift it up. Let's open this up. And then I'm going to eyeball or hover it above, that's what I want to say. And I'm using my piece here that I have on the spine, it has the same height, right? To line it up from top to bottom, and then just aim for a nice border here along the edge as well. And that just gives me a nice clean work surface to put some elements on. We won't be doing too much on here because of the magnets, and we don't have space in between our panels. But we can do like one photo opportunity or something. We'll see what we can come up with. Because my magnets have been sunk into the chipboard, I can burnish a little bit more over it without it really showing through. I can see them, but not to a point where it bothers me. So that is on. So I will do the same thing with the other pieces. And let me close my glue because it's going to take me some time to put my double-sided tape on here. And it's really Sorry, a little sip of my tea. It's a little bit of an inconvenient measurement, right, to cut these pieces. But again, I'm lucky that I have that extra ½ inch that made it possible for me to get it out of one piece, and I'm not going to see this anyway. So why not use it? You cannot use it on everything, but yeah, as long as it's going to be placed face down, why not? This one back in. And up to this point, we don't have to worry about orientation of our album, right? It's all good. Okay, so once more, some wet glue. And again, hoover it. Use your pieces that are on the spine already to help you line up top to bottom, or with some even space basically. So if you were able to place those nice and straight, that will help you right now. That's not always the case, by the way, but sometimes they are a little off. Well, then just place your pieces straight as you can. So this creates some layers here, but that's fine, we have space for it. We won't be seeing much of it once all of our pattern paper is on and our elements are on, so that's all good. Okay, same thing here. Oop. So I'm aiming for a straight border here and lining it up with my piece on the spine. Okay, so that's nicely cleaned up. Yes, and then this will go on here. Nice. So we are at the point where we can build our elements here. So how long have I been filming? Not that long. I think we can do it in this video. But I need to check my cutting guide for the measurements. So you know what? I'm going to prepare it and then I'll be back. Okay, to reduce a little bit of the time in the video, I've prepared the pieces. I've been cutting and scoring and putting some tape on, but I'm going to show you what we need to do, right? So we're going to start with our waterfall element. It's going to be on our middle panel, and you cut, these are your pieces A, 6 of them. So I've prepared 5 completely already. These pieces are 6 1/4 by 5 3/4, and we want to have the 5 3/4 inch side on top, and then you score 1/2 inch. So you do that for all 6 of your pieces. Then we have piece B. This one is, I believe, 6 1/2. Yes, by 1 1/2. And is it 1 1/2? Well, mine is a little over, but that's fine. On the 6 1/2 inch side, again, you score 1/2 inch. So that's what we need for the waterfall. So let's do that first. So on our flaps, when you score, you have like an indented side where the score line goes into the cardstock, and you have a bumpy side where the score line comes out of the cardstock. My basic rule is that we apply tape or adhesive on the indented side, and then I stay close to the cut edge, so in between the cut edge and your score line. So just like this. We give that a burnish. And then we fold towards that bumpy side of the score line. So we fold towards that bump. Give that a burnish as well for a clean, crisp fold. And then our tape ends up on the outside. So that's how I do it, unless I state otherwise. So I need to fold on all 6 of these flaps and burnish them. Okay, and then for piece B, I'm again going to place that tape on the indented side. The rest of my pieces are already taped up, but these were the only 2 that I haven't done yet. And again, we do the same thing. We fold towards the bump, give that a burnish. So we have that prepared. Okay, getting our cover in, the frame to the sides. This is how I want it, where my front panel goes to the left and then the other one to the right. If you want to do that differently, be my guest, there's nothing wrong with that. And we are going to place our flaps on that middle panel. Now I have that piece of cardstock here, and like I said earlier on, I can really use that now to line up my pieces here. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. If you don't have that piece of cardstock, then you start, let's say 1/16 up to 1/8 of an inch away from your chipboard edge here, and make sure that you have about the same amount of space on top and bottom. But for this one with the waterfall, I really suggest doing your background piece behind it. I think it's just better. And I do realize that the lighting is a little bit hard today. It's a cloudy, rainy day like we have been having a lot here. I hope the people that are following me from Melbourne or otherwhere else in Australia were able to stay dry with all the floodings that were happening. We were lucky enough that we are in a place where we didn't have too much trouble with the actual flooding, just a lot of rain. Okay, so I lined that up and then I stuck that down, and I need to basically repeat this for all my flaps. But what I want to tell you is that I don't just blindly bump my fold up against my 1/2 inch attachment strip here, because that's basically what we're doing. But I'm really following the cut edge line here of my piece of cardstock that's placed here. So when I fold this one over, everything is lined up with each other nicely. So that's where I have my eye on. And sometimes that means that this doesn't line up exactly because my cardstock isn't cut completely straight, or yeah, whatever it is. I'm also not tapering my waterfall, the 1/2 inches of my waterfall. Yeah, I think that's just, in this case, gives me a little bit of a better result in the end. So I really have my eye on this cut edge here on the bottom. Okay, I'm down to the last one, and every now and then I just like to check if everything is still lining up. But basically, if you follow that cut edge, then that should be fine. So one more piece to go. So I did 6 flaps. In theory, you have room for more, for at least one more, but I think 6 is a nice a nice amount. But if you wanted to add an extra one, you can definitely do that. So, and I always like to, when they are in there, give everything just another really nice burnish. So there we are. And then piece B will be my closure. So I'm going to use a closure with a magnet. And you can also do ribbon or something if you want to do something else, if you don't want to use magnets. And now you can play with this. You can place this centered on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place it somewhat off-centered, and that gives me some room to place some elements on my, yeah, it's not a belly band, but on this band here that go up a little higher if I want to. So I just eyeball where I want it approximately. And then I like to measure, that's like 1 1/8 of an inch. So maybe if I do 1 1/4. Yeah, so then I just give myself a measurement on where I want to have it. Make a little tick mark, really slightly with my pencil on the bottom corner here. I'm going to open this up. And this is just a small piece, so I just removed the tape backing completely. And now I'm going to bring the folded side of this piece here and then place it just on top of that pencil mark to hide it, so I don't have to worry about removing it, and then follow the cut edge here of that piece of cardstock that's already there. And I don't know how well you can see that on camera, but probably that's pretty difficult to see. So I'm just using the cut edges of that piece of cardstock that we placed earlier to clean that up. And then this will be my closure. So for that I'm going to use the smaller magnets from 49 Market. Let's see how easy I can get this opened up. Okay, so I need 2 again. Okay, and some tape. So the first one I'm going to place on my flap. And you just want to make sure that you give yourself enough space from the edges where you can cover it up. Now with this measurement of this flap, that should not be a problem, but sometimes with some smaller pieces that can be a little bit more of an issue. And you can use a corner rounder on here or another decorative corner punch if you want to. For now I'm not doing that. So again I just use some tape. I drop the other magnet on top. Some tape with the sticky side facing me. And now what we don't want to do is push everything really flat and push this really flat. Give it some space because we are going to create some bulk. So just let it loosely fall on there. Oh, I was pushing on the wrong sides. The tape is going that way. And then I slide it off. In this case that works easy. So instead of pulling it up, I push down on where the tape goes and then I slide it off. I hope that makes sense, but that just works really well. Sometimes I place a piece of scrap paper between my magnets if I have some issues with removing the pieces from each other. Okay, so that's basically it for now for the waterfall. And what I did with these pieces is I have some photo mats here, but they have a background, so that's a little bit larger than the actual photo size. But let me show you on one where we don't have a magnet. You can fit a full-size photo on here with some pattern paper next to it or on both sides. You know, you can play with that, of course. So in portrait style. And if you want to, and you have some landscape photos, you can fit a 3.5 by 5 on here in landscape style. So different measurement photo, and I thought that was fun. You could place that on here in landscape. So I'll probably, when we start decorating, I will be playing with those photo sizes as well. So you can use for portrait and landscape photos, but full size will only fit in portrait. And then we can combine that with some pattern paper. Okay, the back panel, let's do that. We have, so this was pieces A and B. So we start with piece C. Let me get my scoreboard in as well. So piece C, my chair out of the way, is a large piece, 9.25 by 4 3/4. So on the 9.25 inch side on top of your scoreboard, you score 1/2 inch and 8 3/4. And I always like to do it this way, just like exactly how I'm telling you now, because that assures me that the space in between my score lines is 8.25. In this case, that's the measurement that I need. If my piece is cut a little bit off and I would score 1/2 inch, turn it around and score again 1/2 inch, then it might be that if my cutting was off a little bit, that my measurement in between my score lines is also off a little bit. So that's why I always score, and that's how I put it in the cutting guide, 1/2 inch, 8 3/4. And then on the 4 3/4 inch side, you score 1/2 inch. And for that exact same reason, what I always do, and I hope I'm not confusing you with this, but I just want to share that information. I put it in here with that measurement on top, and then I score the 4 1/4 in this case, which should be 1/2 inch. But sometimes that's just a little bit off, right? So I score the 4 1/4 in this case. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, that's what I did. And then we have pieces D. You have 2 pieces D, same measurement. These are 3 1/4 by 5 1/8 inch. And on the 5 1/8 inch side on top of your scoreboard, you score 1/2 inch, 4 5/8 inch. And then on the 3 1/4 inch side, 1/2 inch, or if you want to do it like I do it, at 2 3/4. So the same thing for both pieces. And then you have 3 small pieces, so you really can use your scrap pieces for all these pockets. So I said CD. So these are pieces E. These are 3 3/4 by 1 3/4. And on the 3 3/4 inch side, you score 1/2 inch, 3 1/4, and then on the 1 3/4 inch side, 1 1/4, which is the same thing as 1/2 inch. All 3 pieces. And then we have one more flap piece. This is 8 1/4 by 5 1/4, and let me put that this way, 5 1/4, and on the 5 1/4 inside on top, you're going to score 1/2 inch or 4 3/4, which is the same thing. Okay, let's start with our piece C. So we had the score lines on 3 sides. We've placed our tape on the indented side on the 3 sides where you have that score line. And you don't have to go all the way to the cut edge. You can go up to where you meet the score line in the other direction. And then we're going to miter our corners. So where our score lines make an intersection, we're going to cut straight through that intersection with a 45-degree angle. Some people like to do that on the bumpy side because you can see your score lines a little bit better here. So with a 45-degree angle, cut straight through that. And then these little things can go away. And then we fold towards the bump. So our tape is again going to show up on the outside. And then also on this long side. And then we're going to check if our flaps here are not overlapping. If they do overlap, you open them back up and you cut again. And check if that's better. Okay. So I don't know if I'm not scoring very well today, or this cardstock doesn't let itself score very good. But it's not folding as easy on my score lines today. But that's okay. Eventually I'll win. Okay, so this pocket, again, we're going to make sure that our orientation is right. We open it up. We're going to go to the panel all the way on the right hand side. And again, I'm going to use my cardstock here to help me. That should line up on 3 sides perfectly. But if you don't have that piece of cardstock there, then you even out your space like about 1/16 on 3 sides. Okay. So I remove the tape backing on the bottom, the long side, and I just place one corner down. Right there, and then bring it along the bottom. Burnish that. And like always, you've probably seen me do this more often. I'm getting some regular tape and place that over that strip there. That makes it easier later on for photo mats or whatever it is you want to put in this pocket to slide in. Give that a burnish because this is cheap tape and I want it to stick down and stay down. Okay, remove the sides and then we are going to bring that up and stick it down. And then we have a large pocket here in place. Now let's prepare our next 2 pockets. So these are pieces D. And we did the same thing with the tape. We're going to do the same thing with the corners. Just cut them off in a 45-degree angle. So once you have your base made, it goes really quick, right? Because we're already almost done with constructing this. And I'm off with my cutting today. What's happening? Okay, I'll burnish that in a second. Oh yeah, 1 out of 3 went well. And of course, you can do things like use your envelope punch board for a little notch there, or maybe you have another punch that you can make notches with in these pockets. I'm just keeping them straight for now because I don't have anything. Poor me, but I'll be fine. So what I'm going to do now is this pocket, I'm going to line up with the folded edge here of the first pocket that I've placed. Line that up and giving it a dry fit, get my other pocket, bump it up against it, and I should end up line up here on the side. It should fit perfectly. I do, so I'm confident in sticking this first one down. So line up your folded edges with each other, basically. Okay. Again, some tape. And then we can stick the sides down. Okay, one more time, give it a dry fit because that's just who I am. Nice. So I really try to bump the two pockets up against each other. Make sure that that nicely lines up. Oh, that might be a little bit on the short side. And that's not looking pretty, right? But we're not gonna see a thing of it. If you don't know it's there, that tape, nobody knows it's there. Okay, so give that a good burnish. And then we have our final 3 pockets, our mini pockets. So the same thing again, right? The tape is on the 3 sides with the score line, and also here we're gonna cut with a 45-degree angle. And fold on the score lines. So the smaller the pocket gets, the easier it gets to do all of this. So really tiny pockets for some small goodies. Okay, so same thing. So we're building up some layers here, but we have room for it, so we don't have to worry about that. Same thing, I'm going to bump them up against each other, give it a little bit of a dry fit to make sure that my mat was right. Yes, that should work. Although I'm not doing a really nice dry fit, it's fine with me. So again, line up your folded edges. And with these tiny pockets, I'm not gonna bother with the tape, that would be fine. I'll probably cover that up with some pattern paper. Or maybe not, but then still it's fine because it's such a shallow pocket. Okay, again, bump it up with each other. And bring it up. Now this is not a really nice fit here, but okay. The think I didn't fold as nicely on one of my score lines, on one of the pockets. So I'm sticking out a little bit. That's not what I want. So what am I going to do? Put some tape backing back here. So you should be lining up perfectly if you did a better job than I did. I'm lining it up here. I'm trying to find my pencil. And I'm kind of marking to where that folded edge is coming. And I'm going to put it back in my scoreboard. And then I'm going to line that pencil mark up with just one of my score marks in there. Just re-score. Recut. And refold. And see if we did a better job now. Yes, but again, it's not cleanly sticking up against each other there, but see, and that's how you fix a problem like that. I just have to keep in mind that why did I remove all these tape backings? I just have to keep in mind that when I'm ready to do my pattern paper, that this pocket is slightly smaller, but I will find that out quickly enough. Now I will show you up close that mine is not perfect. See that? There's a little gap there, there's a little gap there. That's okay. It's handmade perfect. And that's it. We're constructed. Well, we still need to glue this down, but I still want to figure out what exactly do I want to do here pattern paper wise, because if I want to have some pattern paper there, I need to stick that down first. But this is the construction of our folio basically, so we can, oh no, oh, I forget my flap, last piece. I was almost there. So we did our tape on the dented side again. And this time I'm going to taper. So I'm just putting my scissors just above the score line and cut with a slight angle for hiding construction. And fold. Burnish. And we need to stick that down here. So this will go along the top cut edge of that piece of cardstock if you have it. If you don't have it, you're going to stay away about 1/16 of an inch from your chipboard edge. And there is some space here between your flap and your pockets. About 1/4 inch. Yeah, again, I'm just giving it a dry fit. And I'm going to turn my piece a little bit so I can work sideways. Am I still in frame? Yeah. Okay, so I want to line this up. I want to line it up with the edges of my pockets. And I didn't do any gussets here or anything. I didn't want that in this project. Just making sure that everything is lined up. And remove that tape in there. And give that a burnish as well. So for this one, you can use magnets to keep your flap down. But just remember, if you're going to put things in these pockets, that's going to take away from the strength of your magnet. So basically what's going to happen is, and I don't have, oh, I have something here. We're going to make some small tags or small photo mats or something that we can put in these small pockets to keep our flap down. Eventually, at least that's what I'm going to do. So If you want to use a different type of closure, you absolutely can. And this is all that's to it for the construction. Now we're really done. And we can start decorating, but yes, you guessed it, it will be in a new video, right? But we made it this far and that's good. So I hope you liked the project, and yeah, I will do some decorating on camera, just like we did with the previous project. And yeah, that's it. Don't forget you can download your cutting guide for your convenience on my website. It's a free PDF download, scrapandcoffee.com, and there's a link down below in the description box. So for now I want to say thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.